Hello, I'm Harry Thibodeau, and I welcome our global audience to Kourou, French Guiana for the 201st Ariane launch.
Good evening, Harry, and everyone around the world. Thank you for joining us tonight for this live broadcast.
And the Ariane 5 is on the pad. The satellites are fine. Everything is green for launch. But first, some comments from Jean-Yves Le Gall, Chairman and CEO of Arianespace.
Bonsoir.
Good evening. So this is the second attempt for VA201. You remember that on March 30 we had what we call an aborted launch. That means that the Vulcan 2 engine stopped a few seconds after its ignition and before the ignition of the solid boosters. Since then, our teams have investigated all scenarios and issues that could have caused this shutdown. All the suspected elements have been changed, and so tonight we are ready to launch. It's a very important mission because it will be the very first satellite for our two customers.
Chacun de leurs propriétaires seront le premier satellite à être mis en orbite.
Tonight, the performance of Ariane 5 will set a new record of 10,050 kilos for the geostationary transfer orbit. On one side, Yahsat Y1A, which is a very big telecommunications spacecraft weighing 5,956 kilograms. On the other side, Intelsat New Dawn, a very modern spacecraft which has a mass of 3 metric tons. So the last 3 weeks have been very busy. Going forward, much work lies ahead. 4 Ariane 5 missions, several Soyuz flights, and the inaugural Vega mission. But now I invite you to witness this Ariane 5 launch of Yahsat Y1A and Intelsat New Dawn.
And welcome back. With just under 12 minutes to go before liftoff, my partner tonight is Julian Mizrachi from the Mission Analysis Department at Arianespace.
Yes, and we have an action-packed broadcast for you tonight.
Well, we certainly do. Final preparations for launch, videos presenting the main contributors to the mission, and, of course, the flight itself this evening. And the board is green for go.
Exactly. This green board gives us a continuous update on the status of all the systems. This includes the launch vehicle, the 2 satellites, the launch pad, and the weather. And right now you can see that everything is going perfectly. So we are now seeing the top officials responsible for making the final decisions concerning this launch. Jean-Yves Le Gall, Chairman and CEO, Edouard Perez, Chief Technical Officer, and Patrick Loire, Head of Arianespace Guyana Establishment, all from Arianespace. And then Michel Aymar, Director of Launchers at CNES.
And again, we are now just under 11 minutes to go to launch. And we see that board. It tells us that we are clean and green, and that means that we are closing in on the launch. But we want to take a moment to take a look at the launcher campaign and how we got to where we are tonight. Here at the Guyana Space Center, the installations and various integration buildings allow us to conduct 2 Ariane 5 campaigns in parallel. This permits Arianespace to increase its cadence and thus to satisfy the increasing demand from satellite clients. The Coyle is the Launch Site Operations Manager for Arianespace. For this campaign, it's PrJsc.
The launch site manager's job begins before the start of the campaign to ensure the availability of all the launch facilities. Everything has to be ready at the right time and when required for the launcher.
Simultaneous to the launcher integration campaign, the satellite teams are working on their side in order to be ready to join the launcher at the final assembly building. Tonight, the upper passenger, Yahsat Y1A.
Yahsat Y1A is part of a turnkey system built by a consortium of Astrium and Thales acting jointly. It is made of several types of ground terminals, 2 satellites, and an overall management system. Concerning the Y1A satellite itself, the bus is under Astrium responsibility, whereas the payload is under Thales Alenia responsibility, which is a well-proven industrial organization.
The satellite in lower position is Intelsat New Dawn. Their team knows the CSG well. Tonight is the 52nd satellite entrusted by Intelsat to Arianespace.
This is my 20th year here in French Guiana, and I always enjoy working with the Arianespace team, the CSG, and the CNES team. It's always good to work with the old people that I've met in the past, and also some of the new people that have joined the team.
All this experience allows for extremely efficient operations. From the earliest planning meetings to the last moments of the countdown, everything has been perfectly synchronized.
There are important daily tasks to be carried out and checked, following what we call the critical path of activities. But the most important moments are those during the launcher transfers between different zones.
These many months of planning and coordination came to a head yesterday when the launch vehicle and the two satellites rolled from the bath to the launch pad. It took about an hour to make that journey. And I had the pleasure of going out there and watching it. I even put some of that video up on Facebook yesterday. Less than 8 minutes to go now in the countdown. All systems are go. We're located a few kilometers from the launch pad in the Jupiter facility. We're on the Atlantic Ocean, just north of Brazil. We're in a rainforest, and we're about 300 miles from the equator.
Yes, and we now discover some of the key officials at Jupiter. The program director has coordinated all details since the contract was signed with the customer. They make sure that both the satellite and the launcher remain on schedule and ready to launch. Then we saw Luca Chiecchio of Arianespace. He has overseen the Yahsat Y1A program, and then Thomas Panozzo is the program director who has worked hand in hand with Intelsat New Dawn. And we also saw the representative from both clients.
And of course, everyone is working in what we call the fishbowl here at Jupiter.
And we now discover one key person, the DDO, Antoine Guillaume.
À tous de DDO.
And then
Attention
he is
pour la
about to
séquence
announce a
finale
milestone in the
lanceur.
countdown, the 7-minute mark.
Okay.
Top. H0 moins 7 minutes.
And we have now entered the automated sequence. Julian, you're an engineer. What does that mean?
In fact, the objective of this sequence is to do the last setting to put the launcher into flight configuration. As we get closer to the liftoff, the launcher gets step by step more independent of human oversight. This is done by two computers located in the Launch Operation Center.
Well, even though it's computer controlled, the final decision, does it rest in a human hand?
Yes, absolutely, Harry. Humans can stop it at any time.
Well, we see the engineers that you spoke about there at what's called the CDL-3. I drove by that place a couple of days ago. It looks like a bunker.
Yes, it really is a bunker. The walls and roof are several feet thick, and it is closed off to the outside world. It is so close to the launcher that should there be a serious issue, those people would be safe.
Alrighty, I'd love to go there. Who's in that bunker?
There are two teams working there, the launch operations team headed by Patrick Lucet tonight, and the Ariane program production team under the direction of Pierre-Yves Tissier. Then they are monitoring everything from the loading of propellant into the Ariane 5 to checking out all the electrical systems and the flight program software. And of course, monitoring the condition of our payloads, Yahsat Y1A and Intelsat New Dawn.
Okay, it goes on my bucket list. Get in CDL-3 and drive the little truck that takes the rocket out to the pad. 5 minutes, 30 seconds till launch, and there is a great picture of the Ariane 5 on the pad. All is green. We also see officials from Thales Alenia and Astrium who manufactured the Yahsat Y1A spacecraft. Yahsat is a brand new company, and it's their first satellite. They've entrusted it with us. This trust comes from the fact that Ariane 5 is the most reliable heavy launch vehicle out there. 56 launches overall, 42 successes in a row, 75 payloads successfully launched into orbit. Tonight, Yahsat rides in the top position on the Ariane 5 ECA.
Yes, and Ariane 5 is the best solution to launch two satellites into GTO like we are doing tonight. There are actually two versions of the Ariane 5. The ECA is the most powerful version, allowing to put two telecommunication satellites into geostationary transfer orbit. And on selected missions, we used the Ariane 5 ES, as we did 2 months ago, to launch the ATV to the International Space Station. And now we discover a description of the Ariane 5 ECA with the two solid rocket boosters with an height of 31.6 meters. In the middle, the main cryogenic stage with an height of 31 meters and a mass of 188 tons. And on top of this main cryogenic stage, we have the cryogenic upper stage, which has a height of 4.7 meters and mass of 19 tons, and the fairing inside the two satellites are hidden on ground with an height of 17 meters and a mass of 2.6 tons.
We're now under the 4-minute mark. Everything remains green here in Kourou. Intelsat New Dawn rides in the lower position under the Silda. It's the first private sector communications satellite for Africa.
Yeah, and we'll now discover some officials from Intelsat New Dawn and Orbital Sciences Corporation, which manufactured the satellites.
Well, both Intelsat and Orbital Sciences, they know Kourou very well. Intelsat has entrusted 51 of their satellites to Arianespace since 1985, and I know that dignitaries around the world are watching closely for that launch. Special hello to Diane Van Beaver, the investor relations person from Intelsat. Today's her birthday, and we're going to light a big candle for her here in just a couple of minutes.
Yes, and we're back on this really great picture of the Ariane 5 on its launch pad, ready to launch at 3 minutes before the liftoff right now. And we can say that right now everything is always green, so we continue the sequence completely nominally, and then we will discover what is hidden under the fairing. So you can discover Yahsat Y1A, which is the satellite tonight for Alia Satellite Communications Company. It has a mass of 5,956 kilograms and will go on the orbital position of 52.5 degrees east. And inside the Silda, the black structure, you have Intelsat New Dawn.
And again, it's going up for Intelsat. It's a telecommunications satellite, 3,000 kilograms, and it will provide services to Africa. We're closing in now on the 2-minute mark, and we see that Ariane 5 bearing, it carries the signature of South Africa's Nelson Mandela as a special tribute to the Intelsat New Dawn satellite. It's a beautiful night here in Kourou, and actually we haven't had rain all day long, so it's been a super day. We see the two arms that surround the Ariane 5. Are they holding the rocket up?
No, it is only the gravity. He's holding the 780-ton Ariane 5 upright. These two arms are used to support the fuel lines, which are topping of the liquid propellants. We continue to top up the cryogenic fuel until just before launch. It is extremely cold, and obviously here in Kourou, it's really hot. So the fuel boils off, and we have to keep the tanks full.
Boy, I'm getting excited. What are we going to see in the final seconds before liftoff?
Then you will see these two arms withdraw a few seconds before main engine ignition at H0. Then the Vulcan 2 engine will burn for 7 seconds, while the computers make a final check of all systems. Then the signal is sent to the two solid boosters to ignite, and then Ariane 5 leaves the pad.
And there was the announcement that we have entered the final minute of the countdown to VIPs heading out to the balcony. We welcome everybody around the world viewing this live webcast of the 201st Ariane mission on Arianespace.com, and special greetings to our friends and industrial partners around the world. Julian, my friend, we're at the magic moment.
Yeah, finally we certainly will do it tonight, and we approach to the famous final countdown to the launch of this Ariane 5 with Yahsat Y1A and Intelsat New Dawn tonight.
Absolutely. The moments tick away, and here is that countdown from Kourou.
À tous de DDO, attention pour le décompte final. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, top. Allumage Vulcain. Allumage des EAP, décollage. Les paramètres bord sont normaux, la trajectoire est nominale.
absolutely awesome. The Ariane 5 ECA has roared into the skies above Kourou. This is my 4th time here, and it takes my breath away every single time. As we close in on the 1-minute mark, Ariane 5 is about to break the sound barrier here in Kourou, and I know from experience in just a moment, this building is going to start shaking as that Ariane goes over, and we can hear the sound now.
You can hear it right now, yeah. And how impressive it is once again with these beautiful images of this flight during the day with the sunlight. And there are 1,300 tons of thrust is breaking the Ariane 5 free from Earth's gravity. 90% of that power is coming from the 2 boosters. Each one is 31 meters, about 100 feet tall, and are burning 240 tons of solid propellant in 2 minutes, more than 2 tons per second. When the boosters have done their job, in less than a minute from now, Ariane will be about 70 kilometers into the sky and traveling at more than 1 mile per second, much faster than a bullet.
We're in a soundproof booth, and it is still rumbling here at Jupiter. Julian, the green screen that we followed before has been replaced by a chart and a moving dot. What's that representing, and what about the numbers below there?
So in fact, these curves on the left show the predicted trajectory profile, and the moving dot is the current position of Ariane 5. The V stands for velocity and A stands for altitude.
Okay, we want that dot to follow the curve?
Yeah, absolutely. This data is coming from Galileo, the tracking station on a big hill behind Jupiter. Engineers there are evaluating all the data in real time.
Already, and we just saw the burnout and the jettison of the twin solid rocket boosters high in the sky, and they are going to end up, of course, in the Atlantic Ocean.
Yeah, and we can see it very well on this picture. It's live data, a live video. And the boosters have done their job, and we don't need them anymore. They drop away, and the mass of the launcher is now 180 tons. So we've lost 600 tons in about a couple of minutes.
Wow.
The lighter we are, the faster we go.
Yeah, what an incredible shot as you see them fall away, and of course the Ariane 5 in the center. At 3 minutes, 4 seconds into the mission, all is well. And we see some images of the fairing coming up in a moment. And what is the purpose? And we just heard the separation of the quaff. What's the purpose
this fairing that has just separated is it has protected Yahsat Y1A and Intelsat New Dawn on the ground before launch and after liftoff from acoustic vibration and atmospheric friction. However, above 100 kilometers, there is no risk of friction anymore, and we can separate the fairing and then can lighten the launcher again.
And it's about 2 tons less on the launcher. And I think the cameraman was so enthralled by being able to see the solid rocket boosters and everything. We never even saw the fairing, but everything is going fantastic. So it is now time for us to get some news from Arianespace. On February 16th, the Automated Transfer Vehicle 2 was launched by a dedicated version of an Ariane 5. This was a milestone, the 200th launch of an Ariane rocket. 8 days after launch, ATV performed a perfect automated docking with the International Space Station. The ATV is a major European contributor to the International Space Station, supplying it and readjusting its operational orbit.
As you can see for yourself, the construction of the Soyuz launch pad is completed. This will allow us to move on to the operations qualification phase of the project. During this period, teams including 300 Russian colleagues will be joining us for rehearsal of the launch campaign right up to the final countdown. This is planned for the end of April. It will enable us to prepare for the first Soyuz launch from Guyana, which is scheduled for the end of the summer. For Vega, preparations are underfoot with the start of the launch system qualification review in Europe and the continuation of launch system trials in Guyana.
Arianespace will launch Yahsat-2, the second geostationary satellite built in Argentina. It will provide a wide range of telecommunications from Argentina to Canada.
SES has chosen Arianespace to launch its Astra 2E satellite on an Ariane 5 in 2013. During the industry landmark event Satellite 2011 held earlier this month, Arianespace reaffirmed its position as the leading commercial launch services provider. At this occasion, Johnny Blagel, Chairman and CEO of Arianespace, was inducted into the Society for Satellite Professionals International Hall of Fame. Arianespace discussed its global leadership at Japan Week 2011. Since opening its Tokyo office in 1986, Arianespace has won 27 contracts, a 75% market share. And 6 minutes, 9 seconds after the thunderous launch of the Ariane 5 here in Kourou.
Yes, the Vulcan 2 engine is doing all the work now. That fuel tank you spoke of holds 115 tons of liquid oxygen at minus 160 degrees and 25 tons of liquid hydrogen at minus 240 degrees.
And again, we have had a great number of people working hard here in Kourou for over a month to prepare the satellites for tonight's mission. And let's hear about the main steps in that process.
Luca Kekio is the Arianespace Program Director for Yahsat Y1A. He has been working several months with this brand new customer. Here are some details.
Alenia Satellite Communication Company, or Yahsat, was created in 2007 as a fully owned subsidiary to the Mubadala Development Company. They will provide a dual communication service that will meet the needs of the commercial market as well as the needs of the governments of the UAE. It is within the frame of this agreement that Arianespace will launch Yahsat's first satellite. Arianespace has always been a partner for new SATCOM operators. We have stopped counting the number of operators that have launched their first satellite with Arianespace. For this, we at Arianespace are proud to bring our contribution to their successes by providing reliable launches on which they can count.
Its co-passenger represents a really important mission for the African continent. Thomas Panozzo, Arianespace Program Director for Intelsat New Dawn, speaks about this historic project.
New Dawn Satellite Company is a joint venture between Intelsat and a group of South African investors led by Convergence Partners. The satellite will feature a payload optimized to deliver wireless backhaul, TV programming and broadband over the African continent, which is one of the fastest growing regions in the world demanding for fixed satellite services. And the signature of Nelson Mandela on the fairing tonight witnesses the importance that his foundation gives for tonight's launch, and the motto is a launch for Africa by Africa.
8:23 into the mission, all continues to go right down the middle with that dot and the line. During the video, we were acquired by the Natal telemetry station. Where is that, and what other stations are we going to use tonight, Julian?
In fact, we have 5 ground tracking stations: Galiot in Kourou, Natal in Brazil, Ascension Island in Mid-Atlantic, and Libreville in Gabon in West Coast Africa, and then Malindi in Kenya, East Coast Africa. So Ariane sends data to those ground stations. This tells us how the flight progressing in real time, but we also record all the data, which we'll review in detail a few weeks after launch.
And the main engine has now completed its job. You just heard that announcement. It has separated, and the upper stage will now burn for nearly 16 minutes. How do those two separate without colliding?
In fact, there are 2 small rockets on either side of the upper stage have fired. This has allowed the upper stage to move away from the lower stage, and then we can safely ignite its engine and continue on our journey. We also jettison those small engines. Anytime we no longer need any part of the rocket, we drop it off to save weight.
Okay, well, you're the engineer, and as you said earlier, the lighter we are, the faster we go. So if you said it, it must be true. It's a basic law of physics. Right down the middle, we are flying tonight. Everything is perfect. Time now to hear from Alenia Satellite Communications, the owner of Yahsat Y1A.
Yahsat is a hybrid satellite system that provides commercial and government satellite services in Middle East, Africa, and Southwest Asia. Yahsat will be providing services through KU and C-band frequencies, and will be providing services like internet trunking, broadband services for end users, enterprise. We'll be providing broadcasting services as well, plus, of course, our military and government services. Well, Arianespace is going to launch our first satellite ever, so I think it will always be a special relation. I mean, this is for us a historical moment and again, one of the most important milestones in this project. The launch is probably one of the most important milestones in our project. This is where our project becomes operational. This is where we start fulfilling the requirements for our clients, military and commercial clients. So it's definitely one of the most important phases of our project. The relation we had with Arianespace and their team for the last few years is just fantastic, and I think it's a great example of teamwork.
11 minutes, 22 seconds after liftoff. Ariane 5 now 164 almost kilometers into the sky and moving at 7.25 kilometers per second. Where are we right now?
In fact, Ariane 5 is well on its way to Africa in just 11 minutes. So the upper stage is doing all the work right now, and it also uses liquid oxygen and liquid hydrogen, just like the main cryogenic stage. And it will burn 975 seconds until it reaches the final orbit.
All right, let's hear a little more about the Yahsat Y1A satellite from Thales Alenia Space.
Every launch is a special occasion, but today is a very special day with the launch of Yahsat Y1A. So, congratulations to a new satellite operator, Yahsat, and congratulations to Mubadala. Congratulations to the UAE, who join us in the world of space telecommunication, and to your armed forces for your commitment to a dependable and robust satellite system. Yahsat Y1A is the first of two state-of-the-art dual-mission satellites. Its advanced design means it can handle new technologies and offer the most effective solutions. It is the fruit of winning partnerships between Yahsat, the UAE Armed Forces, our colleagues at Astrium, and ourselves, Thales Arianespace and Thales. An impressive new site in Abu Dhabi is ready to take control of Yahsat Y1A very soon. And the civil ground terminals on which Thales and Astrium UK actively participated are on track for system acceptance. I would like to thank all the international teams who have worked efficiently as one. It just shows how relationships based on
And as we come back to Jupiter, we are now at 13 minutes and 41 seconds into the flight. And everything continues to go well at 13 minutes, 50 seconds into the flight. Where are we now?
And we are now under the control of Ascension Island because we have been acquired by Ascension Ground Station, and we have now reached more or less 155 kilometers of altitude and a velocity of 7.7 kilometers per second. For this mission, we need to reach the velocity of 9.3 kilometers per second to be on the right orbits.
And we just heard the DDO say that everything was nominal, and we're moving right along. More information now from Astrium regarding the Yahsat Y1A. It also was one of its manufacturers.
Astrium is extremely proud to have delivered for launch Yahsat Y1A alongside our partners. It is the first part of the fully integrated satellite communication system, including ground segment, for our customer, the Alenia Satellite Communications Company, based in the United Arab Emirates. It is also a great honor to serve the armed forces of the United Arab Emirates with state-of-the-art technology, building on our heritage in complete end-to-end space systems and services for our military customers. The Yahsat satellites are state-of-the-art. They are based on our leading Eurostar 3000 platform. Eurostar satellites today have already achieved an impressive 380 years in orbit. In addition, Astrium, as the prime contractor for Ariane, is delivering today the 57th Ariane 5 launcher to Arianespace. With our expertise and experience in space transportation, satellites and services, unique in Europe, we are proud that all elements of our business are involved in this event. Today, we are looking forward to the start of a new era with the launch of Yahsat Y1A, serving a whole new customer community through a true pioneer, the Alenia Satellite Communications Company. Hina, Astrium Hilla, Janibukum, Fikuli, Makane. Shukran.
1621 after the beautiful liftoff this evening in Kourou. We've been looking at that curve on the left side. We actually were like in a little roller coaster. Were we actually dropping in altitude a bit?
Yes, actually we have decreased a little bit our altitude, and then we can use all our thrust to increase our speed. So this helps to push us towards our final destination, and at that point we will be traveling at 9.3 kilometers per second. So that is really moving.
Yeah,
and
that really is. That is booking along 10 times speed of a bullet. Time now to hear about Intelsat New Dawn.
Intelsat's satellite capacity is fueling the business growth of our customers, who are partnering with us to drive economic development and transform communications in Africa. As a result, Africa has been one of Intelsat's fastest growth regions for the past several years. We are proud of our heritage in bringing highly reliable communications to Africa, a history that began over 40 years ago with the launch of Intelsat 3. But Intelsat New Dawn developed differently than the other 21 satellites serving the continent today. It's the first African private sector communication satellite, a satellite for Africa, by Africa. Intelsat formed a joint venture with a South African investor group, led by Convergence Partners, with debt funding from leading African banking institutions, such as Nedbank. Through this partnership, we have built a satellite that will deliver critical infrastructure, such as wireless backhaul and broadband services. Built by Orbital Sciences Corporation, the C and Ku-band satellite will be fully integrated in our global Intelsat fleet, providing unmatched resilience to our customers. Intelsat New Dawn will be positioned at 32.8 degrees east, providing high power coverage of sub-Saharan Africa. A lot of hard work has gone into making this launch a reality. I would like to thank our dedicated employees, our partners at Arianespace, with whom we have launched 52 satellites, and the manufacturers and engineers at Orbital Sciences for making this remarkable milestone possible. As Intelsat and Convergence Partners deliver a uniquely African solution for communications infrastructure, we look forward to supporting the continent's economic growth and providing a new dawn for Africa. Thank you very much.
1920 into the mission, and we have been acquired by Libreville. We're approaching the west coast of Africa. We've crossed the Atlantic only about 20 minutes. That takes about 6 hours in a transatlantic jet. One question I've always had, why are we in Kourou, French Guiana, to launch a satellite?
in fact, here in Kourou, we are only 300 miles from the equator. And the closer we are to the equator, the faster the Earth spins. So this is like catapult, and less fuel is needed to reach geostationary transfer orbit, or GTO.
And of course, that means more fuel for the satellite. More fuel means more lifetime on orbit for the satellite. Everybody wins. Time now to hear more about Intelsat and Convergence Partners.
Africa today is proud that it is being ranked as one of the fastest growing markets in the world. Other people, they call it the last frontier for growth. We are proud to show that Africa today can demonstrate over 500 million mobile phones in a population of just over 1 billion people. As you know, the history of Africa, we haven't had a strong fixed telecoms infrastructure. We have leapfrog to get into the mobile environment. Also, on the other side, we have high-speed fiber undersea communications connecting the coast of both the Atlantic and Indian Ocean. Critical is how do you now connect various parts of Africa to this web of global communications. New Dawn satellite, which is being launched on the 30th of March 2011, is certainly going to provide these communications or this backhaul so that mobile operators can be able to provide backhaul communications to drive this growth of video, of data, of voice in the mobile environment. New Dawn is that satellite that is going to provide full coverage both at Ku band and C band over the African continent. It's going to be able to provide connectivity from the east to the west, north to the south, and be able to provide communications to as many entities that are active in the mobile and in the video and in the telecoms environment in general. Convergence Partners is one of the drivers of communications in the African continent, in undersea fiber, in land, in wireless, in satellite. We are very proud to be part of New Dawn project, and we will continue to work in the satellite environment so as to ensure that African people can have communications into the future.
Just over 22 minutes into the mission, all continues to go extremely well. Earlier, we were all about picking up speed. Now, look, we're climbing the hockey stick. It's all about altitude, and Ariane 5 is rapidly climbing away from Earth. How high do we have to get before we release the satellite?
In fact, geostationary transfer orbit is not circular. At the high point, we call it apogee, it's 36,000 kilometers of altitude, and the lowest point, or perigee, has an altitude of 250 kilometers. So, both satellites have their own engine, which will be used to modify their orbit from GTO to a circular one at 36,000 kilometers from the Earth.
Alrighty, and time now to hear from Orbital Sciences, who built the Intelsat.
Star satellites from Orbital Sciences Corporation are the right-sized answer for small to medium GEO communications missions. That's why Star satellites are the small GEOs of choice for leading global satellite operators as well as regional communications providers. Star satellites offer significant economic value to customers as well. The Star bus provides more payload power for each kilogram of launch mass than any satellite in its class. Additionally, Star's low launch mass results in lower launch costs and a broad range of launch vehicle options. And with one of the industry's best delivery records, customers can depend on Orbital to provide reliable, on-schedule performance. Orbital Star satellites are backed by total end-to-end support for the life of the system. Services offered include procurement of launch services, complete ground systems, telemetry and command software systems, technical training, and full-time anomaly resolution support. When you add it all up, Orbital Star satellites provide the flexibility, the affordability, and the reliability that the world's leading satellite communications service providers demand. Orbital. Innovation you can count on.
And back at Jupiter, the Ariane 5 has now been acquired by the Malindi tracking station in Kenya in Eastern Africa. And we have now crossed the entire African continent.
Well, that was a fast trip across Africa. Everything continues to be fine, the vehicle performing as planned. However, Julian, if that upper stage were to stop working right now, would we make orbit?
Yes, we are already on orbit. We are going so fast and we are so high that we already are turning around the Earth. Now we just need to get to the correct orbit, and we should be there very soon. When the onboard computer determines that we have reached the correct speed and altitude, it will command the engine to shut down.
And that is going to occur should occur in just a moment or two. We await that announcement from the DDO.
Extinction de l'état supérieur cryotechnique sur commande de guidage.
And right on time, the upper stage has shut down. We have now entered the ballistic phase. Are we actually coasting in orbit?
Yes, indeed. Ballistic means no propulsion. So the Ariane 5 engines have done their job, and we are now on the geostationary transfer orbit, and we are going 9.3 kilometers per second as planned, and that means we are high enough and fast enough to cruise without the engine.
Now, is this when we begin something that I heard referred to as the space ballet?
Yes, this is a complex set of maneuvers that has now begun. First of all, we must orientate the composite to the correct attitude for the release of Yahsat Y1A.
How do we do it?
In fact, there are 12 small thrusters located on both sides of the composite, which allow us to perform any maneuver around the three axes. So these thrusters are powered by hydrogen, and as we are now in space, so the 15 tons of the composite can be controlled by small puffs of pressurized gas.
Well, is that onboard computer we talked about earlier, is that controlling the maneuvers, or someone here in Kourou actually playing with a joystick?
No, there is not anyone. It is that onboard computer which is controlling our operations. At this time, we are just monitoring it from the ground. In reality, it is more than just a typical computer. It's a whole management system. It is very smart. It looks all of the data, evaluates the different options, and always chooses the one that maximizes the success of the mission.
You know, that sounds like that computer they called HAL that was on 2001: A Space Odyssey.
Yeah, it's pretty close to it. It knows where it is, where it wants to go, and how to get there. So we call it the Guidance, Navigation and Control System, or GNC.
I call that my wife Tina when she goes into a shopping mall in Green Bay. And again, the first satellite to be released will be Yahsat.
Yahsat Y1A.
Yahsat 1A, and there is the announcement that it has separated, and one half of VA201 has now been completed.
Yes, and Yahsat 1A has now begun its life on orbit.
And that's right. The folks at Yahsat, of course, very happy right now, but it is tradition here at Kourou that everybody refrains from celebrating until both satellites have safely been separated. And we now see officials involved in the Yahsat 1A project. They placed a great deal of trust in Arianespace, allowing us to launch their very first satellite for them.
Yes, and the 6-ton Yahsat 1A satellite combined with the 3-ton Intelsat New Dawn satellite resulted in the largest payload ever launched in GTO by Ariane 5.
6 tons is a big satellite. What is Ariane doing to support the ever-increasing mass of commercial satellites?
In fact, there is a continuous work to increase the Ariane 5 performance to respond to these evolutions. Tonight, for the first time between the satellites, the adapter systems and the supporting structure, we have placed more than 10 metric tons in GTO.
And 10 metric tons is a lot, but heavy lifting is what the Ariane 5 is all about. All goes well. It's time now to hear about the next steps in the life of the newly born Yahsat 1A satellite.
After the launch separation, we will enter the layup phase, which will allow the satellite to reach its final orbital position in geostationary orbit, and which will also allow to start the bus test. Then we will start the payload in-orbit test, and the satellite should be finally fully operational mid-May.
To reach this operational life, a long integration campaign has been necessary here in French Guiana, involving teams from Arianespace and the satellite customers working together.
I really enjoyed the atmosphere in Kourou, both relaxed and efficient. In fact, there was some kind of emotion when the satellite disappeared and made a fairing, as we saw it for the last time. But anyway, we will keep in touch.
And 29 minutes, 47, 48, 49 seconds into the mission now. We continue to close in on the next major milestone. But before we get there, one question that I've always had concerns the launch time here from Kourou. And we normally launch at about sunset. The satellites are now over the Indian Ocean. And the sun has got to be just about coming up right now. Does that have anything to do with the time we launch?
Yes, this is one of the controlling factors. In fact, satellites have a lot of constraints, mostly with respect to the Sun for their technical operations. So remember, once the fairing is separated, the upper satellite tonight was Yahsat Y1A is exposed to the vacuum space. In space, an object facing the Sun is extremely hot, while the other side in the shadow is very cold, so it is critical that most of the journey be done in the darkness. Then when separation occurs, it is like the birth of a new baby. The baby needs air, the satellites need sunlight to make energy because it has limited battery life. Thus, we want to separate them as close as possible to local sunrise so the baby can breathe.
Well, that sounds simple enough, but if you consider rocket science simple, then I guess it is. But I've spent most of my life as a radio announcer. How do you calculate the time when you have two satellites?
In fact, it's a matter of compromise between the operational requirements coming from both customers. This is another major controlling factor dictating the length of the launch window.
Another question for you. We let Yahsat Y1A go first. Who decides what satellite rides in what position?
In fact, it is determined by the size of the satellite. Remember, Harry, one of them must fit inside the cylinder. Arianespace chose the configurations that allow the small one to go inside the cylinder, and the heavier satellite always goes on top.
Alrighty, and right now we are going to take a moment to hear about the future of the Intelsat New Dawn satellite.
Let's see, once we separate from the Ariane launch vehicle, it'll take approximately 10 days to raise the orbit from the geotransfer orbit to the geosynchronous orbit. After that, we'll have the payload in-orbit testing. That'll take approximately 15 days. And then once we complete the payload testing, we'll drift it to the on-station orbit location, and it'll take approximately 5 to 10 days.
After all these tests, the teams of Intelsat New Dawn, which have been working hard, will be amply rewarded when their satellite will finally offer services to Africa.
Well, this satellite, the Intelsat New Dawn spacecraft, is designed specifically for the African continent, and it's going to bring wireless services to all the African people. As the slogan says, a satellite for Africa, by Africa. I'm also very proud that this satellite also is endorsed by the Nelson Mandela Foundation, and his name appears on the fairing.
Almost 33 minutes into the mission, the next event will be the separation of the cylinder covering the Intelsat New Dawn satellite. The composite is being rotated into the correct position as we speak. How do we separate that cylinder?
A pyrotechnic device separates the cylinder from its base. Then a set of 8 springs push the upper part away. Everything is designed to avoid collision with the satellite which is inside.
And the cylinder weighs over 1,000 pounds. Those have got to be some big springs.
Yes, but remember, once again, we're in space and there is no gravity, so we don't need that much energy. You could push it away with your hands.
Okay, and I'm Superman. I think I can probably just shove it away with no problem at all. We are closing in on that announcement very shortly that the cylinder...
du système de lancement double Ariane.
And there it is.
There it is. The cylinder has separated. Intelsat New Dawn is seeing the sun for the first time.
Yeah, and the onboard computer is now conducting an orientation maneuver to reach the required attitude at separation of the last satellite, Intelsat New Dawn.
Well, Yahsat Y1A has gone one way, now the cylinder has gone another, and now we're repointing the composite so the Intelsat New Dawn satellite does not continue on the same path that the cylinder is on. The requirement for each mission is different, I assume, depending upon the satellites involved?
Yes, and that is exactly why each mission is unique, and this space ballet changes every time.
And again, it is rocket science, but you guys have it down here at Arianespace and how to do it. We are closing in on a magical moment here, probably about 20 seconds or so before separation.
Yes, we are in the last maneuver before the separation of Yasat New Dawn, and you can see on your screen everyone is expecting it from one moment to another, and there it is.
There it is, and the cheers come up, and there has been another success by the folks at Arianespace. And there's hugs and cheers and handshakes going around with everybody, because really thousands and thousands of man-hours went into making this happen.
Yeah, and you can see everyone really happy, congratulating themselves. You can see people from Yahsat, from Intelsat, New Dawn, and everyone, the program directors from Arianespace, who have been working for a long time, and
I'm
you
so
know,
happy.
this famous character from Tex Avery, Rupi.
You know, it's interesting because my wife even said to me, she said, it's got to be almost like having a baby or seeing a baby go off to college, or either way, simply because you worked so hard to make it all happen.
Yeah.
And now it's come to fruition.
Exactly, and now we will see a replay of the liftoff of the Ariane 5.
There it is.
So that's it for the replay. These beautiful images of the Ariane 5 liftoff. It's every time a great moment, and so you can see everyone congratulating, and then we will have some speeches from...
There's another shot of the replay. And again, as we return, you see the congratulations continuing. People are really having a good time here at Kourou because 2 new satellites have been placed into orbit by the Ariane 5. Now, Jean-Yves Le Gall.
Comme vous venez de le voir, ce 57e lancement d'Ariane 5 vient de placer sur leur orbite de transfert géostationnaire Yasat
Intelsat New Dawn satellites into geostationary transfer orbit. Once again, I am delighted with this successful launch. This launch occurs with a 3 weeks postponement. This perfect mission shows clearly that facing last month's issues, we made exactly what we had to do. And I would like to thank you all for the trust you've shown during these last weeks. Today, we are particularly proud of having orbited the first communications satellites for 2 companies, Yasat and Convergence Partners. We are also very proud of boosting a total payload of 10,050 kilograms, including 8,956 kilograms for the 2 satellites into geostationary transfer orbit, setting a new record for Ariane 5. I would first like to extend my sincere thanks to our customers. Yahsat Y1A is the first United Arab Emirates satellite to be launched by Arianespace, and we are very honored to assist in the operational startup of the company Yahsat. I would also like to particularly thank my friend Yassem Al-Zabi, who selected Arianespace right from the start of his project, and you have made the right choice tonight. I would also like to congratulate our partners, Thales, Alenia and Astrium, for the excellent job in constructing the Yahsat Y1A satellite and for once again placing their trust in us. Intelsat New Dawn also marks the first. This state-of-the-art satellite built by Orbital Sciences Corporation is the result of a joint venture between Intelsat and Convergence Partners. New Dawn is also the 52nd Intelsat satellite launched by Arianespace, perfectly reflecting the bonds our 2 countries have formed over the last 3 decades. I would like to congratulate my friend Dave McGlade and his African partners for once again entrusting us with a vital mission. Lots of you worldwide have followed this new success of Ariane 5. I would like to thank everyone in Johannesburg, Abu Dhabi, Washington DC and everywhere. More successful launches await us, since another 4 Ariane 5 missions are scheduled this year, along with 2 Soyuz launches in French Guiana and 3 in Baikonur, not to mention the first Vega launch. I would also like to thank everyone who has contributed to this remarkable success. The member states of the European Space Agency, who recently approved fundamental measures to guarantee the long-term viability of our business. All of our industrial partners, whose full-fledged commitment enables us to carry out launches at a sustained pace. The teams from French Space Agency CNES, not only in France but also in French Guiana, and of course all the operating staff at Arianespace, whose professionalism, commitment and above all expertise unrivaled worldwide granted the success of our launches.
Thank you. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Before I start my speech, last 3 weeks ago, when we had the first launch attempt, I remember we were in the bus and I was sitting next to our chairman, Walid, and he saw me reading my speech, rehearsing for it, and he said, "Great, do you have a failure speech?" I said, "No." He said, "Good." So we kept it the same, and I didn't rehearse since then. But I think we always had the confidence that we'll be here one day celebrating the launch. So, ladies and gentlemen, Yahsat Y1A is successfully launched, and it's on its way to orbit. The launch of Y1A represents once again our great society potential for achievement. I would like to express my pride and gratitude to all of you during this momentous occasion. As a team, we have been working towards this moment for more than 4 years. And today, after witnessing this successful event, I would like to express my sincere thanks to all who have made this day a reality, especially my team. None of this would have been possible without the unwavering support of our visionary leadership and that of the UAE Armed Forces and Mubadala, our shareholders, who have set the course for Abu Dhabi and the UAE to become a global leader in technology and innovation. I would next like to thank the entire team at Yahsat for their hard work and dedication throughout this journey, and also their confidence for the last 3 weeks and continuous hard work, knowing that they will be here 3 weeks later celebrating their launch and hard work. It has taken years of research, planning, collaboration, and late nights, but together at commendable speed, we have created a product that will significantly contribute to communications across the Middle East, Africa, and Southwest Asia. From our experienced veterans to our freshly trained engineers, each and every one of you has made an invaluable contribution to this project. I would finally like to thank our partners as well as our valued clients and supporters for their help in making this dream a reality. With this success, we look forward to our continued growth and expansion through our forward-looking approach and our commitment to technological innovation. We are rapidly establishing ourselves as a leader satellite operator in the region. I look forward to working with all of you and continuing to realize this great vision as we work towards the launch of Yahsat Y1B later this year. Thank you.
Well, it's a real pleasure to be here. Thank you very much for this beautiful launch. That was, yeah, actually very beautiful because of the weather, and very, very emotional because that's the second attempt and it's successful. We would like to thank deeply all the teams who've been working very hard on this program, both from Thales and Arianespace and Astrium. And also a deep thank to Yahsat team, for which and with which it's been a real pleasure to work along the last years to build this state-of-the-art satellite. So, well, long life to Yahsat Y1A and Eric.
Yeah. What a difference with 3 weeks ago. Huh? I prefer tonight. No, really a big thank to Arianespace. A big thank to Astrium Space Transportation, who provided this launcher and who worked like hell to make it happen tonight. A big thank to our teams, Astrium Satellite and Thales Alenia Space. A big thank as well to our team, Astrium Services and Thales Alenia Space, who are putting so much effort in running this program. A big thank to our customers, indeed. It's a pleasure to work with you, but it's also an honor. And the way we have worked indeed together through those events over the last 3 weeks simply push us, I think, to be even more dedicated to make this story a full success. It's really a big emotion to be part of the birth of a new star, indeed. So thank you very much for your trust.
Thank you, Jean-Yves. Well, second time around was the good one. And I really like to thank Arianespace and their partners, CNES, European Space Agency, Astrium, for all the hard work that they put in over the last 3 weeks. You know, when we had the launcher board on March 30th, they really dig deep to find the root cause of the abort and implement all the corrective action. They worked very hard, and the hard work paid off today. So thank you. As Jean-Yves mentioned, Intelsat and Arianespace have a very long-standing relationship. We go back to the early 1980s with the launch of an Intelsat 5 and an Ariane 1. And over the years, Arianespace has launched more than 50 Intelsat satellites. Yes, that's 50, more than any other launch service provider in the world. Today's success showed once more that Intelsat made the right business decision by entrusting the Intelsat New Dawn satellite to Arianespace. So what's going to happen next? Well, over the next few weeks, the satellite will arrive at its final location. That's 32.8 degrees east over Africa. And then it will join the Intelsat fleet. It will be the 54th satellite in the Intelsat fleet. The satellite was built by Orbital Sciences Corporation in Virginia, in the US, and it hosts 28 C-band and 24 Ku-band transponders. The payload was optimized to provide voice, cellular backhaul, and media solution to the African continent. As you know, this is a really team effort to design, build, test, launch, and then operate a communication satellite. So I'd like to take this opportunity to thank not only Arianespace, but Orbital Sciences Corporation, the satellite manufacturer, all my colleagues at Intelsat who worked on this program, as well as our customers. And last but not least, our partners from South Africa in this endeavor, Convergence Partner, and all the financial institutions who backed the program, including NetBank. So the Intelsat New Dawn launch is really a milestone for the African continent. It is the first ever private sector communication satellite for Africa. It is really a satellite for Africa, by Africa. South Africa is well known for their success in sports, cricket, golf, rugby, and they hosted a very successful Soccer World Cup last year. But with today's launch, South Africa will now be known as the leading country to embrace the latest technology, such as the New Dawn Intelsat satellite. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, good evening. It is indeed a great honor for me to thank Chairman and CEO of Arianespace for a job well done. Thank you very much. From Convergence Partners and all our partners back home in South Africa, I just want to again say thank you very much for all the work. This has taken us almost 5 years to be where we are today. This is a joint effort by Intelsat and Convergence Partners, as you have said. Again, we would like to thank our partners and also thank Orbital Sciences for the great job that they've done over the last few years. We have been involved in a number of programs for this, in particular around schools, to ensure that we can take space technology to ordinary people. We have designed, for instance, programs where we have ensured that young kids from high schools, they have been able to write essays about this project. And also they have been able to build models of both satellite and rockets, in particular the ones that have launched this satellite. To us, imparting knowledge to younger people to ensure that the future of space is secured is a very important issue. Learning and knowledge and transfer of knowledge to younger people, it's something that we believe in as we continue to do business, as we continue to build this industry, because we believe that Africa, as it is 30 million square kilometers, which is one of the biggest continents on Earth, it will continue to require such technology as satellite. As New Dawn, as Convergence Partners, we really sincerely appreciate everybody who has participated in this launch. Again, we all have seen the success of the rocket. The weather was beautiful, the skies were blue, and everything happened on time, on schedule, and we are now at transfer orbit. So from us, of Convergence Partners, we really would like to say to our partners, to all the people who are here today, who came all over the world to come and witness this very important day, thank you very much. Ambanega New Dawn, and we want to ensure that to you, our colleagues, we will be back here again, because this is a business, an industry that we will continue to be part of. Thank you very much.
Très bien, merci. Donc, prochain rendez-vous le 19 mai pour le lancement par Ariane 5 de ST2 pour Singapour et Taïwan et Yahsat Y1A pour l'Inde. Voilà, merci et joyeuse Pâques.
Well, and there you have it, the congratulatory speeches. Ariane 5 delivering 43 successes in a row now, Julian.
Yeah, exactly, and we can say now that Ariane 5 is able to put more than 10 metric tons on orbit. And we will conclude this video transmission on these beautiful images of the liftoff of Ariane 5 with Yahsat Y1A and Intelsat New Dawn tonight.
Absolutely, we watched these. I thank you very much for all of your great comments. We do an RVT coming up in May 19th or so.
Yeah. And I thank you very much, Harry, for your enthusiasm doing this VT with me and coming from United States, which is a really long flight to come to Kourou.
I go back to the snow, but we congratulate everybody. A great success tonight from Kourou. Good evening.
Good evening.